Good morning, Celebration Spiritual. It is good to see your faces. Let's stand as we prepare to open in prayer.
Happy Sunday. Let's take a moment and close our breathing in here. Now. Breathing in peace. Breathe. And breathe here at this time to hear good, to recognize God on the floor on which I stand. I am knowing the power of God resides in me, for I am the love child of God, created in God. I remember the self. I remember the self that's whole, worthy, healed, and complete. I'm remembering the self as forward motion. We come together to revitalize our spirit here at Celebration Spiritual Center. I am knowing that the world, I am knowing that all things come together right here and right now. Simple, because there's only one. There is only one. There is only one energy governing the cosmos. There is only law. That is the one law that created this moment right here and now, and it is good. And let us together complete. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Right now, the past is gone. The future is yet to come. And we are creating a vibration of love, of peace, and celebration. I found here in the present moment now. You made it. You're here now. Leave the present moment now. We say, breathe out. I'm in the present moment now. This is how we return to the present, by bringing here in the present. All my giants fall. Here in the present, problems seem
myself and Pastor Greg, welcome. As you all around you is this goodness of God. It didn't skip you. It didn't forget about you. It didn't miscreate you. That as long as I'm alive. Mistakes. Only you are doing that. And so it's time 2020 to let go of those mistakes and step in the moment of God. From remembering that, let that go as well. Why we celebrate. And we believe that everything is spiritual, including your cell phone. So what I need you to do is spiritualize your cell phone. That means put it on vibrate. Put it on Facebook and Twitter. Let people know where you are, not just where you checked in, not just where you're seated, but where you are seated in consciousness. Course in Miracles says it so profoundly. All minds are joined because they're one of these blue. We're grateful for that. We're grateful for you. Before there was a year one, there was a yes. You were a guest, never a visitor. When you come back, you get your own sweet tea. Okay? Thank you for being here. And remember, first time you come to CSC, you're a what? Yes. And when you come back, you're what? Family. Let's all stand and greet each other like family. We are a family, like a giant tree. We are so much more than just to die. We are a family, like a giant tree. We
about the words that we're singing as we recognize what we're talking about. When we say, I am one with all that is, how powerful I am. All I need right in my hand. On this truth, how strong I stand. We're talking about this law that we've been talking about all month, that's always in operation, that we're going to continue. It's being one with this power that responds to our pattern of thought and thinking. So this song is a celebration, and I encourage you to celebrate with us, but more important. Here we go. I am one with all that is. On this truth, how strong I stand. Oh God, deep within me. With your light now I can see. I will listen for your voice. Heaven in my heart. Power within me. Open the door, let blessings bring. Like the water we will flow. Unify my mind, my soul. As above, so below. One mind, one heart, one soul. One God, one mind, one heart, one soul. Oh, higher as we go. Like the water we will flow. Unify my mind, my soul. Oh, below. Oh, higher as we go. Like the water we will flow. Unify my mind, my soul. As above, so below. And we say higher, and you say and we say higher. Everybody sing this. Everybody go higher, higher.
Good morning, celebration. Good morning. Thing we do, the experience that turns on the heart, the mind, and the soul of the world. A God experience is the realization of oneness that transcends material sense. Our mission and purpose, to awaken the world to the presence of God within and all around us, truth as one family, to embody unconditional love, to equip humanity to live our greatest lives and to serve all creation. The centering thought for this month's meditation is I am one with God. And the song Principles for Successful Living. You gotta put the nasty on the K. Pastor Greg's topic today is the end of magical thinking. The powerful prayer continues. Join PGPY and our prayer champions Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. for the Momentum Prayer Call. Call details can be found at the host table, and let that momentum carry you throughout the day. If trust me, you're gonna want to join us live. Listen to the playback anytime. Bring your skills and talents to Team Celebrate. We're holding Team Celebrate training on Sunday, February 9th at 1 p.m. following the weekend service. If you're interested in attending, wcelebrationsc.org/register and click the Team Celebrate and however, please make sure that your beverage is covered. Also, there is no, but before that, don't you just love Denise's voice? Yeah. One on the giving statements. Our policy has always been to provide the giving statements on the last Sunday before the federal deadline of the 31st. Unfortunately, this year there was some technical difficulty. Copy of your giving statement if you've given $250 or more this year, or if you're a member of CSC. Send an email to giving support. Understand that? If you would like an electronic copy. Otherwise, they'll be here on next Sunday, and they'll be here for the rest of.
Hey everybody. One of the things that I love about the 4T Prosperity Program is that underlying idea that we prosper together. Now, first of all, you may hear this word prosperity, and when churches start talking about prosperity, oh Lord, they're trying to get my money. It's behind the having of things. Similarly, powerful, very deliberate process in how to develop and adopt a prosperity. Walk through your life knowing that abundance, and you'll see there under classes and events the option to sign up. 6 at 7 p.m. on Thursdays for 12 weeks. It is an amazing class. Show of hands. I know this woman right now. Class about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago now. So if you have any other questions, you feel free to ask myself or Pastor Yolanda. We're happy to answer any questions, but all of the details are there when you go to the website. Sound good? Yes. Yes, all right.
Oh, wow. I'm excited for 4Ts. I love co-teaching that class with PG. It's always a transformative, restorative experience. Well, we've come to the time in our service, one of my favorite times. Well, actually, the whole service is, but we've come to the time in our service that we dedicate to ourselves very deliberately. We dedicate to going within ourselves very deliberately. We dedicate to connecting to our consciousness that we just sang in joy about. And in meditation, we remember that we're never separate from this consciousness. That anywhere in our lives where we fear, or where we feel lack or doubt or uncertainty, it is because we've forgotten we are eternally tethered to love, eternally tethered to life, to joy, and to peace and ease. And meditation is the perfect opportunity to practice, remember that we are love and are loved. To remember that we are one with all the power, all the answers, all the creativity, and all the ease. So let's take that time now to go within, to remember that we are one with God, whatever you call God, something happening within us. We sense the presence of energy. We hear the music lulling us into a place of ease and safety. Available right here and right now. We notice this breath and we allow each inhale and exhale to relax us more. We may even notice our backs against the chair, held and supported, right here, right now. And from this place of deep support, we relax our feet, surrendering them to the floor beneath us, to the steadfastness of the earth beneath us, to the connection of truth surrounding us. Relax your feet. Energy now travels, relaxing our ankles and traveling up our shins and calves. Relax the shins, relax the calves. Energy crosses our knees and our thighs, making a steady way to our hips. Relax the hips, the thighs relax to the chair, to the support of life beneath us and all around us. Energy begins to flow up our spine, activating the subtle body, the energetic field within us. Remember that we are one with God. In our minds, we imagine these vortices just balanced and spinning. Energy rising out the crown of our head, gathering above us, summoning truth to us, through us, and all around us. Now imagine that crown open and receptive as energy flows down through the crown, across the third eye. The throat opens and relaxes. The shoulders relax, nothing to carry. Energy flows down the arms, out the fingertips. We see ourselves as a completely open channel for good. Remembering that we are one with God. Energy is flowing in and out as breath is flowing in and out. A continual stream of life. And now, let's move that breath as one conscious body. Bring your focus to the right side. Inhale up the right side together. Inhale. Hold it there. Left side of the body. Inhale up the left side. Exhale down the right. Inhale up the right side. Exhale down the left. Inhale up the left. Exhale down the right. A few rounds on your own. Feeling a whole body supported and held and rocked by love. Last round. And now, bringing the breath full front and center. Inhale into the low belly. Inhale. Hold it there. Open the mouth and sigh it out. last time, inhale all the way up through the heart, expanding. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Hold it. Imagine that heart filled with light, love, truth, and God. Now close the lips, exhale through the nose. This will be our form of breath for the remainder of our meditation, in and out through the nose. And as we sing to support this deeper state of truth, we will remember that you are one with God. Never separate, never alone, never forgotten. Nice and easy. You remember. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I'm remembering nice and easy. I am remembering who I am. Remembering who I am. I am free. I am free. And as we go into our silent time, we will monitor the time. You just take that inward journey. And if the mind wanders, it's okay. Bring it back to the truth that you are one with God. And let every thought that is unlike this truth, let it be still. Let it be still in you now. eyes still closed, feeling this connection from the inside. We remember this time we gave ourselves. We take it with us, for love is always with us. And anytime we're in fear, doubt, and worry, we remember we are one with God. One with God. One with love. One with peace. One with ease. Prepare yourself for the return. Maybe you wiggle the fingers and the toes, take a fuller breath in and out. And bring the palms together at heart center. Lightly press the thumbs into the sternum, activating and connecting. Bow the chin to the fingertips. Slowly. Namaste.
Felt good, yes, yes. Meditation is awesome. So as you, I hope, are following along in the study, today we are going to be looking at the law of attraction as written about in working with the law. And so I thought that this song was appropriate as we look at what that chapter has to say. I expect the good. Ernest Holmes writes, in The Science of Mind, it's one of my own, in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority.
Yes.
Always expect the good. He writes it, let everything come, expect the good. Expect the good. I expect, I pray. To live in joy today. I expect to have more than enough. To live the life I love. To live in joy today. I expect the good. I expect the good. I expect things work out for me. To live in victory. To live in joy today. I expect good. I expect I get just what I said. And I expect I get just what I pray. To live in joy today. I expect it. I expect to have more than enough. To live the life I love. To live in joy today. So if you ever want to know, am I really expecting the good in my life? If it don't feel like this, but if you understand and you expect the good. So as I said, we're going to be looking at the law of attraction today. But before we get into it, I just want to review where which is not in our stars. Answering the question, what is the law? Looking at that chapter, working with the law, we have to understand what the law is. And one of the things that's really easy to just understand is the law is God working in our lives. So the outpicturing of how this thing that we call God, how it works, how it operates in, through, and as our lives, that is the law. And we must understand and learn to work with it. Also, in order to work with the law, we can no longer not in our stars. In other words, there's not something out here that's causing things to happen to us. There's no God causing things to happen. There's no devil causing things to happen. But actually, the fault, if there's any fault, and we don't want to go into shame and blame, we recognize that it's our thinking. And not just a singular thought, but the pattern of our thinking, our system of thought, our system of belief. And we too, my thinking makes it so. We looked at the law of thinking and looked at how we need to think in order to experience the things that we desire. Our thinking must be constructive, disciplined, organized. Yes, yes? Yes. And then last week we looked at the law of supply. Is always available for that thing that is back up behind. So as I said, in week one, I want to just take us back. Lesson. Right? In answering the question, what is the law? The law is God working in our lives. And one of the things that I shared there, I reminded us of the story that many of you may know. It's a story that apparently each of them are describing what they feel, right? One blind man only has the tail. And so he's like, describe the elephant. And so he begins to describe the tail. Someone else has the trunk. Someone else has the ears. Someone else has the... And to argue with each other because it's like, well, what you're saying can't be true because that's not my experience, right? And it's important for us to understand what's happening here and why this was a spiritual teaching. Anytime it happens, it's like blind men trying to describe the elephant. And so what we're able to do here in this series as we're looking at 11 principles for successful living. In truth, it's not that there are 11 separate principles. These are just ways to understand the law, ways to understand God, right? So just like there are different parts of the elephant, and each one of those are true. The ear of the elephant is true, and the tail of the elephant is true, and the trunk of the elephant is true. Principles that we're studying in this series are pathways to understanding the one law, to understanding God. In the same way that pathways to understanding me, there's one Greg, but Greg is also a father, a son, a brother, an uncle, a cousin, etc. And through any one of those lenses, you could understand something about me. Eli and I were talking this week about that, and she reminded me of something so beautiful. Science teaches us that sunlight is interesting, right? We see sunlight, a beam of light. It appears as a single beam. But what happens when that beam of sunlight shines through a prism, goes through, that appears to us in the separate colors? Important as above, so above. So as it is true, even of a beam of light, so it is ultimately true in the most profound way and in eternal and reminder important. Is, I think, most misunderstood, misused, and misapplied. It's the law of attraction. Now, as you study this chapter, you will realize that we could actually call this, and probably it would be better to call this, the law of expectation. Understood, misused, and misapplied because popular culture has made the law of attraction into a singular entity. And it's really divorced it from the totality of the law, or divorced it from God itself. This is why even Christians are scared to use the law of attraction, or secretly talking about or reading about the law of attraction, because they feel like that's something separate than God. But the truth is, this is just an aspect or an outpicturing or a way to understand the all that is. Now further, the law of attraction, as it's discussed in the law of how to get rich, the law of how to have a good life. But that's not what the law of attraction is. See, the law of attraction in getting rich and getting stuff or having a good life or attracting a mate, but it's not the reason good to bring things out itself, because that's its desire, that's its motive, that's how it operates. And then we also understand that the law works, as I said, with mechanical accuracy. It's impersonal and it's always available. And so as we talked about in week 2, my thinking makes it so, the law responds to our thinking. The law does not solely respond to our constructive pattern of thinking and ignore our destructive quality of our thought, pattern, or belief system may be. And so it is spiritual malpractice to teach the law of attraction as though it's some good news, happy, joyful thing that you didn't know about that was a secret, and now you can tap into this secret good that was available. No, that's not what this is. And so today, as we study the law of attraction, we're going to exercise spiritual maturity and spiritual mastery by ending our relationship with magical thinking. There's nothing magical about the law any more than there is anything magical about gravity. So let's look at something. Hallowell, he takes us through a beautiful journey in this chapter. And as we begin the chapter, what he begins to describe, which is important, I call it the power behind attraction. And so here, if we understand this, and when you get this and get it good, and when you practice it in and day out, and you practice it well, you will find that your life begins to change. See, there are 2 aspects that are at work behind our mental power of attraction. One is desire, the second is expectation. And at the very beginning of that chapter, we read this beautiful quote: to desire is to expect is to achieve. Can we say that together? To desire is to expect. To desire is to expect. To desire is to expect. To expect is to achieve. To expect is to achieve. One more time. To desire is to expect. To desire is to expect. To expect is to achieve. To expect is to achieve. And so here's what we read in the text. The underlying law that regulates supply. Now this is already important. We had to talk about the law of supply in order to understand the law of attraction. So the underlying law that regulates supply in the world of effects has 2 important phases. One is desire, the other is expectation. These mental attitudes represent lines of attractive force, the former being the positive phase of the law and the latter the negative phase, which phases must be complied with to obtain the best and greatest results. He goes on to describe desire, and we read this. The first phase of desire embraces a positive process of attraction. That is, when an individual earnestly desires a thing, she or he sets up a line of force that connects them with the invisible side of the good desired. Now that's why we talked about the law of supply. The law of supply is that invisible realm where all things already exist. There's nothing that you could ever desire. There's nothing that you could ever imagine or want in your life that doesn't already exist in consciousness. But it is through our conscious desire that then we connect with that realm to bring it into being. He goes on, he says, the principle involved is that you cannot long or yearn for anything unless it already exists. If not in form, then in substance. And desire is the motive power for calling it forth into visible appearance or physical effect. Now that's some really good news, because so often, and I'm remembering in this moment, one of the things that was happening for me many years ago, as I moved through my journey and the seminary, I went to a Christian seminary and ultimately moved away from that path and started to move on this path of new thought and didn't really know where it was going to take me. But one of the things that like that or knew anything like this existed. So I was like, I'm crazy. Because this don't recognize now, understanding this law of supply, that the desire that I had was tapping me not into what I wonderful, but this thing was tapping into something I had never seen before. And as I began to surrender to that and just allow that and know that it would come, and there are churches with thousands of people, I had no idea. But I only came into the awareness of that once I had accepted that this thing will come when it comes, even though I've never seen anything like it, and even though it seems a bit crazy. So again, he says the principle involved is that you cannot long or yearn for anything unless it already exists. If not in form, then in substance. And desire is the motive power for calling it forth into visible appearance or physical effect. Now we go on to expectation, because there's the two aspects, desire and expectation, and pull of gravitation is visible realm. This is connects. Expectation draws. Expectation draws. One more time. Desire connects. Desire connects. Expectation draws. Expectation draws. Now we understand when desire connects, what are we connecting to? That then we draw it into being and it becomes a physical thing. So this then is your mental battery. Desire is the positive charge. We read that earlier. Expectation is the negative charge. We can also think about it this way. Desire is the masculine principle in nature, and expectation is the feminine in nature. One of the ways I like to explain this, I call this the romantic comedy principle. See, every romantic comedy is really a dance between desire, the positive charge, and expectation, the negative charge. And so we're seeing this battery. I invite you to go back to your favorite romantic comedy, whatever it is, and watch it from that perspective. Watch it from that perspective and see the two characters that are attracting or repelling, depending on what, right? But look at, oh wait, that character is desire, and that character is expectation. And you'll start to see this dance because, see, the thing that's happening as above, so below, as below, so above, we have to continue to outpicture and represent knowingly and unknowingly how the law works, because this is life itself. So life is always expressing in these different ways. So I know some of you may already be thinking and asking the question, what about all the bad stuff, Pastor Greg? This is true. Desire connects you to the thing desired, and expectation draws it into your life. This is the law. I don't think, I don't think people in war-torn countries are desiring for their country to be war-torn. I had an unwanted experience in my life, Pastor Greg, and I didn't desire that thing to come into my life. And so we're going to dig a little deeper. Now, Hollowell writes this: we meet people who expect things they do not want, but which often come. This proves that expectation is a powerful, attractive force. Never do not want, and never desire a thing you do not expect. When you expect something you do not want, you are taking notes. That's definitely something to write down. If you have the book, that's definitely something to highlight. I've been watching almost every hour of the trial this week, but one of the things emphatic and kind of just casual about the fact that Trump will not be removed from office as a result of this trial. Right? They're very cynical and very matter-of-fact about the point. Perspective, and it's rooted in exactly what we're studying, and that's why I'm sharing it today. Right? Interesting. This is from Scott Dworkin. And so Scott writes this: there's a lot of talk about how there's no chance of impeached President Donald Trump getting removed. I'm here to tell you that there is absolutely, without a doubt, a chance this Senate could remove Trump from office, but it all starts with believing that it can actually happen. If we don't realize there is a real chance that he could be removed, we will not have the energy to get there. We all need to know and truly believe that if enough Americans speak out, he will be removed. That was in USA Today. Now, whether you think he should be removed or not is really not the point, and whether you're a fan of him or not is not the point. What's the point is the law. What Scott Dworkin is reminding us of is that if we continue to expect a certain result, that's the result we're going to get, right? Never expect a thing you do not want, and never desire a thing you do not expect. But he says it all starts with believing it can happen. We all need to know and truly believe. Desire connects. Expectation draws. Never expect a thing you do not want, and never desire a thing you do not expect. So when a desire does not turn out the way that we wanted it to turn out, we can ask ourselves honestly, where was my expectation? And we're going to dig a little deeper into that, but where was my expectation, honestly? Now, you may not be able to answer that question right away, and so this is where the next part and this final piece is important. Because Hollowell teaches in this text 3 aspects of mental attraction. The law of mental attraction acts along the same lines as the law of gravity. It is as definite and as accurate. It is difficult to tell one where she may make the same mistakes. However, I shall name and explain the 3 steps one can use to build up realities. By following closely these suggestions, one can note where she or he may have failed. So these are the three aspects of mental attraction. 3 words: interest, attention, and expectation. Now, interest and attention, and it's interesting to me because when we think about desire, as I talked about it, as it's the masculine aspect of nature, you'll see that even more as we talk about interest and attention. And so interest and attention are aspects of desire, which feed our expectation, which then increases our interest and attention, which increases our expectation. So you can picture it, and as I was going through this chapter, I began to just draw different ways of looking at it. And so you can see it as a circle, that you have interest, and then interest creates your attention, and then you have attention, which creates expectation, and your expectation increases your interest, and your increased interest increases your attention, and on and on and on. And so this is the cycle, this is the vortex, this is the movement, the battery that we get to create. And so under interest, we read this: interest is paying special attention to some object or thing. It is being definitely concerned about someone or something. Interest is tending to see in the outer world what is already existent in one's mind. Things you think of that give you joy, pleasure, wisdom, and satisfaction are interests. We see in life that which interests us the most and pass blindly by that which is of little or no interest. It is here in this simple practice that many of us may be making our mistakes. We may be so interested in things that are not prosperous, joyful, and healthy that we pass by the very things we desire most and overlook the means of our health and prosperity, with our interest so engrossed in seeing the lesser either through habit or ignorance. We fail to attract the greater things that are all around us. See, we only see and experience what we're interested in. And how are your interests showing up in your life? I've seen this so many times in working with folks. They're interested in a romantic partner, but they just, this is my unwinding time. You want a loving relationship, but, Real Housewives of your city, right? See, that's where your interest is. And so then what happens is, again, what we're interested in is what shows up in our lives, either through habit or ignorance. That's what's going to show. And then I'll give you a small one. I've shared this story before. It's just one of my favorites. When we start to think about how it happens even on the smallest level. So this was a few years back, and there was an issue with our kitchen sink, and there was a washer and some other supplies I needed. So I went to Home Depot to get what I needed. And I go to Home Depot, and I'm like, okay, where's the plumbing aisle? I find the plumbing aisle. And I went to where I thought the item should be that I needed, and I didn't see it. And I started to say to myself, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I walked down the aisle, and I was like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I walked back up the aisle. I was like, I don't see it. I don't see it. And then finally I heard myself, because I realized what I was doing. I was declaring what my interest was in not seeing the thing that I was looking for. And so I started to say, I'm seeing what I want to see. I'm seeing what I want to see. And I went right back to the very place that I started, and there it was. Angels didn't descend and say, Gregory, here art thou, washers and pliers that you need, fixeth thou sink now. That's not what happened. It was through the power of my own mind. I shut myself off from what was right there all the time. What are you interested in? How are your interests showing up in your life? And so, like I said, we have interest, and then your interest feeds your attention. To have a high interest is not enough. We must inject this interest into our daily labors. This is Hallowell I'm reading. Our attention must portray our interest. And the keener our interest, the more intense will be our attention. It is our interested attention that draws from the outside world such facts as are formed in the mind. As we direct our attention to our interest as our thought. He goes on and he says, the source and cause of all successes lie hidden deep within the mind, and one must give one's attention and interest first to principle and then to fact. Interested attention, unfortunately, it can express in negative ways. But dudes, men, right. Talk about it. Right. Ladies, listen. Just think. And here's the thing, and this is not relationships, right? Because the aspect of ourselves that can get so involved in something to the point that we don't see anything else, that we don't hear things sometimes that we hear about men is, and PY knows we have this experience. She can have a conversation with me, and if my interested attention is somewhere else, and she'll talk to me, I'm like, yeah, okay. And then days go by, and she's like, what happened to so and so? I asked you, and I'm like, you never asked me about that, right? That focused attention is a masculine trait. Now again, all of us can tap into that realm, right? When you're in a place where you're so interested in something, your attention is so there, you forget to eat, you don't think about eating, you feel fine, you're just involved. That's interested attention. And so I start to think about our desires. Are you really living in interest? High interest is not enough. And then again, there's things that we could be at a time and build upon. You will cease giving so much attention to a lesser one. You do not have to within ourselves. And if we do our work there, we'll proceed to work for us outwardly. It is our thought which stimulates interest and directs our attention. Therefore, let's not wander from the source and cause of attracting the things we do want or do not want. Take one thing. Whatever that aspect is of your life. I love, I was sharing this recently, but Tyler Perry, it's one of the beautiful bits of wisdom that he shares, and he has a lot of wisdom. People ask him all the time, Tyler Perry, how'd you do it? Tyler Perry, just give me the secret, give me the keys. He said, I started with one play. I focused on that one play, trying to get that one play produced. Trying to get it in front of as many places as possible. He wasn't thinking about this huge, amazing, beautiful manifestation of the movie studio that we now are all seeing and celebrating, and the world is losing their mind over it. It's beautiful, it's powerful. That's not where his mind was, right? Now that was in the trajectory of thought. In other words, it was inevitable as you begin this process. One play. One idea. He said, I meet so many people, they'll ask me these questions, and then they're like, oh, well, Tyler Perry, I'm doing real estate today. Oh, well, Tyler Perry, I'm going to get certified to teach yoga. Oh, well, Tyler Perry, I decided that I want to write songs. Oh, well, Tyler, I had one play. Your attention to some constructive interest. You will cease giving so much attention to a lesser one. That's the other thing that I love about interested attention. As I just talked about, that idea that EY could, if I'm in that single focus mode, she could say something to me, I'll respond, but I won't remember it later.
I know what to do.
Right. We can talk about that later. There's a secret. Right? First of all, what do we say when a woman is pregnant? She is, right. It's a fitting trait. And the thing about the expectation, really powerful, physical, it brings the soul in her body and then releases that soul out into the world. Expectation is powerful. It's the most powerful part. But we even tap into that power unless we have interested attention. And so expectation, again, if desire connects, then expectation draws. Literally, again, as we see the feminine, draws a soul. Nobody knows how it happens. It's the greatest mystery. The only thing that we can see with our eyes, that there is some spark, literally a spark that happens when the sperm and egg unite. But nobody knows how or what or where that comes from or how it happens, but that it does. It is that aspect of ourselves that draws out from the non-physical and brings forth, creates a whole human being, brings forth and creates a whole successful business, brings forth a whole successful family, brings forth a whole and successful career, brings forth a whole and successful relationship. And so read in the text, when you believe in probability of success in your undertaking, you experience the keenest interest in your work. The interest is intensified with expectation and anticipation. Through this, you will draw to you the success you are working for. Your expectation must be built up with your interest and attention. And this is one of the ways for me how I gauge what it is that I'm really trying to do. Because, we all have, how many people have more than one interest? Right, we all do. But how you can gauge what is going to outpicture in your life, or how you can, is your interested attention. There's a lot of things that I'm interested in, but it doesn't have my attention. What begins to happen by nature is that my expectation is built up. My anticipation is built up. And so I just expect when I wake up in the morning that good is going to come. I just expect when I wake up in the morning that I'm going to be met with joy. I expect when I wake up in the morning that these things are going to begin to happen in my life. And so it's no longer even a one day that might happen, but there's this feeling that you're already living in it, and everybody else in the rest of the world is catching up to it. Right? That's what we're talking about here. And so we read in the text, if you are working for success, or you wish a lot, you will only enjoy as much as you are able to expect. Say that again. If you are working for success, health, or happiness, you may wish for a lot, but you will only enjoy as much as you are able to expect. If in your heart you doubt or fear that your need will be met, only in part or not at all, you can know that you will receive that much and no more. When you pray for one thing and then fear and doubt you will receive it, you diffuse mental forces. And this is why I say we understand and look at this as a mental battery. Right? If you had a toy, and you know, we have all these, every toy is electronic now, right? It requires batteries, it's got to be charged, or something, right? You wouldn't expect a car to move without the battery. You just wouldn't. It would be nice. It would still be a nice car. You look at it, you could talk about how nice it was. You could talk about what's possible for the car to do. But once you put the battery in, you expect it to respond. You expect it to move, expect it to go forward and reverse and go left and go right and go forward and go backward, right? You expect that because the battery has been put in it. And so it is the very same thing with your own lives. Desire connects, expectation draws. This is your mental battery. This is how the law of attraction works. And it is always at work. Most of our lives, we are unconsciously desiring and unconsciously expecting. And that comes from mass thought and mass consciousness. We're taught because of the way we look, we should expect life to show up in a certain way. I remember having a conversation with my grandparents when I was a teenager. I think I was around 13. And I was talking to them matter-of-factly about not knowing if I would make it to my 21st birthday. Because everything in the news and everything that I've been seeing was telling me that people that look like me, young black men, don't necessarily make it to their 21st birthday. One of my favorite movies as a teenager is Boys in the Hood. God rest John Singleton's soul, right? I love that movie. But part of what that movie was really reinforcing was this underlying idea that, okay, I might make it, but one of my friends might not make it. And it's not just might not make it in the sense of not graduate or do well in school. Somebody's going to get killed. We're not all going to make it to our 21st birthday. And there were legitimate news reports that were sharing this legitimate information. And so I figured as an informed individual, I need to be aware and accept this idea that I might not see 21. And my grandparents said, don't say that. That's not true. They began to interrupt my pattern of thinking. And I'll never forget it because we were sitting in the car and having a conversation, and it literally disrupted my thought. I let go of that pattern of thinking, and I'm grateful for that. So very grateful for that. But this is what happens for most of us. There's a prevailing thoughts that you may have embraced, or somebody told you about a glass ceiling, right? Unequal pay. For my LGBT brothers and sisters, there's prevailing thoughts that, because this is who I am, I should expect life to treat me in a certain way. Not so. And so we recognize that we can let go of what the prevailing so-called wisdom is and tap into the wisdom. Through our desire, connect, and through our expectation, draw harmony to us. Draw ease to us. Draw understanding to us. There's the thing in the news right now, and I'm really concerned about it, but there's two young brothers, I believe they're in Texas, who are told by their school that they need to cut their locks. And they can't come back to school and they can't graduate unless they cut their hair, right? And that's understand that that's rooted in some prevailing thoughts that need to be healed. It's hard to believe, but y'all, I used to have locks down to my back. You can go on Facebook, the pictures are there. But here's the thing, there's a reason why I locked my hair. It was absolutely to disrupt this thought pattern. Because I was the guy that, I was in the barbershop every week, right? I had to have the tightest fade possible every week. It was not a joke, it was not a game, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We should all want to look good and look our best, but part of what that was rooted in was this mindset that I adopted, that I had to present clean cut, right? That was the perspective that I adopted, and it succeeded in certain ways. And so, but I realized one day I was having a conversation with someone, and I realized that the idea of locking my hair, I was like, I would never do that. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, I mean, I thought about what I was saying, like there was something wrong with that. Now, the way I work, because I like to disrupt patterns of thought, I said, we're going to change this right here, right now. I hollered at my people, I said, I'm growing my hair out, and it's time to lock this hair. Because I want to shatter that false belief. And the thing that I love about it that I didn't realize at the minute, but those who have or have locked your hair, you know there's that early in-between period. Right, where you can't really make your hair do anything. It's going to do what it's going to do. You tie it down, and you wake up and it's just like, right? And so what it moved me, I had to learn to love myself in a way I had never loved myself before. Because again, I was the dude that I thought I was good because I was in the barbershop and had to pay. But all of a sudden, can I love you, Greg, now? When you don't look like what you think you should look like, when you don't add up to this system and pattern of belief that you've created, that you've attached your success to. And as I learned to love myself in that process, I shattered not only beliefs about hair, I shattered beliefs about myself. And so now I walk through the world. Doesn't matter where I am, it doesn't matter what I look like, it doesn't matter what I can go anywhere, a pair of sweats. I'm still fully who I am, and that does not matter in terms of my success or how I will be responded to. But again, that came out of making a clear decision that I needed to disrupt this pattern of thought. It wasn't time for me to start blaming people and talking about, oh, well, you know, society made me believe this and person and that person and injustice and rape. No, I knew that I had the possibility, and we actually read it in the text, right, where he writes, he says, the law requires us to make correction within ourselves. And if we do our work there, it will proceed to work for us outwardly. It is our thought which stimulates interest and directs our attention. And so I went within, I did the work within, I changed the pattern within. And then everybody and everything outside of me responded to who I was being. To desire is to expect. To expect is to achieve. With that, let us say amen. Amen. Ashe. Ashe. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, God.
Higher expectation. This is a good one to go back to YouTube, rewatch and take more notes. It just made me chuckle a little bit. I remember the desire to be in a loving relationship. I felt the conscious expectation that it could happen. I had been in New Thought for a minute. I had been studying these. And there was a desire that brought us together. And it was so good. It was so good, y'all. But what I realized, there was something underneath.
Okay. Talk about it.
The true expectation, either I'm crazy or he is.
I was having the same thought.
Because there was no way this relationship could be this good. Right? You see what was really unreparation. And guess what happened? He was thinking the same thing because he hadn't changed his. And guess what else happened? We broke up. Until we did the work, until we realized that what was our picture was what we really believed. Going up in your life that's unwanted. When you think, wait, not what I want. First of all, forgive yourself. That I wasn't aware of. But now we're going to take your mind and your eye and your attention off of the wanted.
Amen.
So here we are. Thank you, Pastor.
All right, it is time for giving. And so if you need a pen, if you need an envelope, please just raise your hand. Our ushers are so very happy to serve you. See your hand in the back, your hands in the back. For our first time guests, we need something maybe a little different when it comes to giving. We don't guilt you or shame you into giving. You choose to give or choose not to give. But what we know to be true is that if you choose to give, because many times we give out of guilt, right? We give, I really should give this, or I didn't give last week, I need to give this week. I didn't give last month, I need to give this month. But the thing is, there's a principle: as we give, we receive. And the principle is just like gardening. The seed you plant in the ground, no matter who you are, it comes back up, right? The earth doesn't care what type of person you are. If you have an apple seed and the right conditions, you put that apple seed in the ground, you will get a tree just like anybody else, right? It's a beautiful thing. So giving in all aspects is the same way, but the seed is not your $5, $10, $100, $1,000. That's not the seed. The seed is what your thinking is behind it. So what I always say is that find your joy number. What's the number, the amount that brings you joy? Because that's then what you're depositing into your mental garden. And so when you give in joy, it's in shame abundantly. So we have made a conscious decision here at CSC that as we give, we are going to give our joy number. And we're going to continue to give from that place and that place alone, because we know the truth that then all the money that I use returns to me multiplied in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. With that, I call our ushers forward. Let's take a very joyous offering.
Extend our hands, and through our hands the vibration of desire, of goodness, of life, of plenty. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the givers and for the gifts. For we know that as it goes out, it has to come back. So we stand in complete desire and match that with expectation that our lives are good and will always continue to be so. From this place of awareness, we go out this week knowing that life with profound knowing and expectation. Together we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So it is.
So it is. Let's affirm this together, y'all. I give my love more times of doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive. So come back. Oh, back to me. Back to me. Just as easy as we breathe. Bring back to me.
And remember, if you would like your giving statement electronically emailed to you, send a message to giving support, one word, at celebrationsc.org. All right? Do that by Tuesday. Otherwise, we'll have them next week. But more importantly, we are grateful to you. None of us, people all over the world wouldn't be changing their lives right now. No, please, oh please, God. We don't barter with God. We don't do that. Leave it on the altar, and our prayer champion this week, Reverend Akil, will pray over it a week, knowing the truth for you. Leave your worries on the altar. What we say is the result.
All things.
Now, all things, they are possible. Now every little thing it's possible. 'Cause I know who I am. And I know whose I
Now all things are possible. Yes, everything is possible. I know who I am, and I know who I am. In the sense